Prepositions of time. I suppose at first glance they might seem quite easy. In, on, at. It's quite basic knowledge, right? But I have to tell you that I tend to, well, notice some mistakes even among people at very high levels of English. So I suppose it's always worth refreshing these basic prepositions so that, well, your English could sound a bit more natural, a bit more professional. So today we will focus on in, on, at, prepositions of time. Firstly, I've actually prepared some small tests for you so you can test yourself and see how many mistakes you will make without even refreshing this theory with me. And after that short test, we will move on to the theory. I'm going to provide you with all the prepositions with in, on, at. And again, at the end, we will summarize it by means of doing some practical sentence translation. So I hope you're ready. I hope the plan is clear. Let's kick off. So let's test you a bit. You're supposed to basically fill in the sentence with the correct preposition in, on, at, or no preposition. Remember that today we will also focus on some exceptions where no preposition is required. So here, how would you complete this sentence? What preposition would you use? Let's have a look at the key. The conference takes place on the 21st of August 2022. Remember that whenever we talk about dates like on Monday, on Tuesday, or the whole date on the 21st of August. Another example, how would you finish this sentence? What preposition would you use here? Let's have a look. In the beginning, I didn't like his attitude. So in the beginning, not at the beginning. In a minute, I'm gonna tell you what the difference is between in the beginning and at the beginning, because it's possible to use these two prepositions here depending on the context and what you want to say. So bear with me, stay with me till the end. Sentence number 3. What preposition would you add here? See you in 5 days, obviously. Sentence number 4. You actually have two prepositions to be filled in here. So take your time. And now let's read it together. I usually respond to emails in the morning. At lunchtime, I take a rest. Again, I'm gonna give you some explanations later on. For the time being, in the morning, at lunchtime, this is what you have to remember about. Sentence number 5. What preposition would you use here? Let's check. Surprise, surprise, no preposition here. So basically you will say, next week we are going to Paris. So a very common mistake I can hear is in the next week, or in last week, or in this week. Remember, no preposition here. Again, I'm gonna give you more details in a minute. And the last 2 sentences, try to fill it in. The answer, we left the cinema at the end of the film. It's actually also possible to say in the end, but again, there is a difference in meaning, which I'm gonna tell you about in a minute. So here, at the end of the film, at the end of the meeting. Number 7. What's your preposition here? The answer, we are planning to release a new product next month, no preposition here. So this week, last month, next year, no preposition there. And the last one, number 8. We will tell him on the next day. On the next day, because it's like on Monday, for example. So you specify a day. On Monday, on the next day. I hope you've enjoyed this small test. I'm just curious, how did it go? Let me know in the comment. But I guess now we can move on to the theoretical part of the class. So I'm going to show you where to put in, where to put at, and where to put on. So we will just basically refresh this knowledge together. So firstly, let's have a look at this preposition of time, at. Where can we actually use it? I'm going to just give you a list of different collocations. Of course, remember that below this video you will also find this PDF with the list of all these prepositions, all these examples that we will go through. So the first one, at 8 a.m, that's quite obvious. Remember, when you specify the hour, it's always at. Of course, you can also say at about 8 a.m, and that's like approximately at 8 a.m, at about 8 a.m. But you can't say see you about 8. No, you need to say see you at 8 or see you at about 8 a.m. Next one, at noon. So basically when you specify this time of the day, at noon, so it's 12 p.m. at noon. At lunchtime, again, it's 12 p.m. usually for some people, or 1 p.m. At night, at midnight, at sunrise, or at sunset, at dusk, so when it gets dark, when the night is coming, and at dawn, when basically the sun rises, so very early in the morning. Now, at the weekend, remember about this one. However, I have to tell you that this American variety very often uses on the weekend. So if you say on the weekend, theoretically speaking, it's correct, but I use this British variety. So if you want to speak this British English, then you should really say at the weekend. Okay, let's have a look at some more examples. Remember, we also use at with holidays, but here we mean general holidays. So at Christmas, at Easter, but you see it's not one single day. So you will say on Christmas Eve because it's just one day, or you will say on New Year's Eve, on Valentine's Day, on All Saints Day, because these are single days, single holidays, but here we generally talk about holidays, so then you need to say at Christmas, at Easter. I hope you're with me. I know it's quite tricky. Another example could be at the moment, so it's not in the moment, okay? Always at the moment. Next one, at the same time. So I actually very often hear in the moment and in the same time. So pay attention here, at the moment, at the same time. What's next? At the beginning of something. And this is something we actually had in our small mini test, right? So now focus. Remember that when you say at the beginning of something, so when it's followed by a noun, at the beginning of the meeting, at the beginning of a movie, right? Then you use at. But if you just want to say na początku, in the beginning, and then there is no other noun, then you will basically use this preposition in. So once again, at the beginning of the meeting, but then you could say, in the beginning, I didn't like the idea. Next example, at the end of something. And here we have the same idea. So at the end of something, so you have this noun, like at the end of the meeting, right? But you will also have this in the end, and that will actually mean eventually, finally. So you could, for example, here, in the end, we decided to change our project. Okay, so at the end of something, at the beginning of something, but if it's just a linking word, in the beginning, comma, and then in the end, comma. Okay, so this is some exception to be memorized, I suppose. Take a mental picture of it, but of course you will also have it in the PDF, right? And now let's have a look at on. Now, on Monday. So basically whenever you talk about a specific day, we've said it already, so it's on Monday. Whenever you use this kind of specific day plus time of the day, so on Friday evening, on Sunday morning, right? So remember we say in the evening, in the morning, but we will say on Friday evening and on Sunday morning. What's next? You could say on the next day. We also had it in this mini test. So you see, we talk about specific days here. So as you can see, at was used for hours, so very specific, description of time, while on is used for more general descriptions, like on Monday, so it's the whole day. And then in is going to be even more general, but we will discuss it in a minute. On a rainy day, we are still talking about a day on Monday, on a rainy day. On our wedding day, again, we are still talking about one specific day. Then we can talk about dates. We've had it in the test. So on the 15th of June. So you see, it's kind of 15th of June. It's like saying on Monday. It's one specific particular day, right? So on the 15th of June 2022. So if you want to read a date, this is how you need to do it. But if you want to just write a date, then it's not going to be so long, because you can skip this there, you can skip this off, you can even skip this th sound like 15th. Okay? What else do we have here? On New Year's Eve. So like I told you, a specific day, specific holiday. On Christmas Eve, it's also a specific day. So remember, at Christmas, because we talk about this one big general holiday, but on Christmas Eve, because it's one day, right? So you have Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and so on and so on. And at Christmas is the general holiday we refer to. What else? On Valentine's Day, again, it's one specific day, holiday, right? And I guess that's it when it comes to this on preposition. I'm trying to do my best to make this class as short as possible. So if I'm speeding up, stop the video and process the examples. But again, you will still have more time to process them in this PDF that you will download below the video. Of course, we're going to have some exercise at the end, so stay with me. The last thing, in preposition. And now here, you probably know, in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, and then in July, because whenever you talk about months, it's in July. Of course, we also say in summer, in spring, so it's also a bit more general than saying on Sunday, for example, because, well, summer, it's like one big season, right? 4 months, so it's the most general period of time. Then we could say in autumn and in winter. By the way, remember we say autumn, right? Autumn, not autumn, but autumn. Then we could also talk about these very general periods like in the future and in the past. So you see, once again, this in preposition is the most general one, which is used with months, with seasons, with, well, not really defined periods of time. It is also used with the year, so in 2005, right? In the 19th century. So these are very general periods of time compared to at 5 p.m., very specific period of time, and on Sunday, also specific because it's a specific day. Here, in the future, in the past, in the morning, in the evening, in 2025, these are very general dates. Remember, you can also use in with in 2 weeks. So whenever you want to specify the future, like see you in 2 weeks, you could also say see you in 2 weeks time. So sometimes you might hear this expression being used instead of just saying see you in 2 weeks. You might simply hear, okay, see you in 2 weeks time, okay? And then you could of course say see you in 2 hours, see you in a few hours, okay? So whenever you want to define this, do zobaczenia za 2 godziny, do zobaczenia za 2 tygodnie, it's basically see you in 2 hours, 2 weeks. And now I'd like to show you the last theoretical bit, which is this no prepositions rule, this kind of exception. So basically you have to remember that this in preposition is not going to be used with this week, this month, this year, this weekend. And I guess this is a very common calc from the Polish language, right? Because we say w tym tygodniu, w tym miesiącu, w tym roku, w ten weekend. So we feel tempted to actually use this in a sentence, right? But well, you have to memorize it. There is no in with these collocations. And now you have to remember that you have exactly the same rule with next. So next week, next month, next year. Again, there is no in. And the last thing is the same rule applies to last. So again, last week, last month, last year, there is no in preposition here. Write it down because I would say this is like top of the top mistakes I can hear on a daily basis. So it's worth simply memorizing this exception, I would say. However, it's worth mentioning another exception to the exception is that you could actually say in the previous week, in the previous month, or in the previous year. So once again, last week, last month, last year without the preposition, but well, in the previous week, in the previous month, and in the previous year. I know I'm making things complicated now. I hope you will forgive me that, but I suppose that's it when it comes to the theory. I hope that you've memorized these prepositions. If not, remember you can always have a look at the PDF I've created for you. And now I just have small translation exercise, just 6 sentences to be translated with the prepositions we've discussed today. So this is like a final test you can do to see how you're doing when it comes to prepositions. So let's have a look at these sentences. Number 1, try to translate it, say it aloud possibly, stop the video if you need to. Okay, ready to see the answer? Are we meeting on Friday evening? Are we meeting on Friday evening? Friday, so we obviously need this on preposition, right? Number 2, try to translate it. Okay, ready? We've had much work this week. So no in preposition here. We've had much work this week. Present perfect tense used here because, well, if you talk about something that's happened this week, this month, this year, it's always present perfect. Okay, number 3. You actually have 3 different prepositions here. Okay, stop the video if you need more time. And now let's have a look at the answer. The conference takes place in March on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Okay, so in March, the most general one, on Tuesday, less general, and at 10 a.m., very specific. Number 4. Try to come up with the answer. Stop the video. And now let's continue with the answer. You know, I'm not able to write and speak at the same time. So it's like at the moment, at the same time. Sentence number 5. If you want to process these sentences, stop the video. Remember, you can do that. Otherwise, number 5. 2 prepositions here. We came up with a great idea at the end of the meeting. In the beginning, nobody wanted to say anything. So you see, at the end of something, that's why we have this at the end and not in the end. And then we have in the beginning because it's not followed by a noun. This is just a linking word in the beginning, okay? But at the beginning of something, then you would have this at. I hope it's clear. The last one, number 6. Try to translate, stop the video. And now the answer. He called me at midnight. I told him that I would call him back on the next day. On the next day, it's like on Monday, right? Pay attention, I've actually marked here that we say would, because if the first verb is in the past, I told him, then basically will needs to be replaced with would. However, I won't give you more explanations here because it's quite a big topic, so let's leave it for the time being. I hope you've enjoyed this small revision of prepositions in, on, at. It's not very difficult, it's quite basic, right? But really make sure you memorize all these collocations, all these prepositions, because generally when we speak, we tend to mix them up, we tend to forget which preposition to use. It's much easier when we look at these prepositions, everything seems really easy, right, when I say it to you, but well, in reality, in speaking, different things might happen. This is quite basic knowledge, so it's worth paying attention to details here. Remember to subscribe to my newsletter to receive the PDF with all these prepositions, plus some further exercises to practice these prepositions. And of course, let me know if you'd like to see another episode dedicated to prepositions, but perhaps this time we could discuss prepositions of place, prepositions used with verbs, adjectives, nouns. So there are actually more complex and advanced prepositions that I could discuss with you if you're interested. So let me know in the comments. I'm looking forward to your feedback. See you soon. Cheers.